We all go a little mad sometimes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
They're here.
Yes, it is. Boo!
Artificial boo.
Boo.mp4.
MP4. Convert that shit to MP3 now.
So you are listening to
The SLAB.
Here's presents the SLAB. That's the thing, right? Once a month does not feel like enough for this to be like ingrained in my head.
Yeah.
I feel like we could do an intro for this, or for they're here like in our sleep or whatever. But
yeah.
the SLAB, it always just kind of creeps up on us. It's like, oh fuck, we gotta do one of these now.
We sort of do shit the bed when it comes to this, don't we?
That's the thing. I feel like that's kind of the shtick now. Where like no intro for the SLAB has ever been consistent. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Where we probe, postulate, and
prod.
Something else. What did you fucking call it? I am fucking not.
Oh god, this is already a disaster.
But yeah. So it's your birthday weekend.
It's yay! It's all about me.
The conclusion of Ghost Month.
With the most oldest of ancient creatures available on iTunes and Spotify.
She skipped Maiden Mother and just went straight to Crown.
Yeah, yes.
It was born an old lady.
It really is, because it's my birthday, y'all. It's my birthday.
Your birthday, y'all.
It's my birthday, and I'll cry if I want to. I'll get mad if I have to, and then sing if I want to. Yeah.
You went Melanie Martinez, you did Leslie Gore. But yeah, so another centennial for you.
Oh, fuck off.
Yet another centennial.
Yet another day gone by.
So speaking of the dead,
Wait, hold on. I have been dying to use this.
okay, Grandma.
Hold
No
on.
joke.
Wait. There's more.
No joke, that denim on denim runway that she had, I live.
Killed it.
But just all denim, those square patches and shit, the effort.
Shout out to you, Jimbo. We love you.
But a Jimbo.
Can you just keep that down? Can you just keep going?
Chains rattling and shit like that, you know.
Are you Night of the Living Dead under there?
I am your daughter. Nicole, if you fucking come over here, I'm gonna fucking peck your fucking eyes out, girl. Don't touch this embroidered lace.
I'm going to fucking pick you up by the communion dress curls and slam you against a door frame and shout at you, "You're not my daughter! You never will be, you slut!"
Nicole, your secret is up. Everybody knows it's a wig.
Are you mad?
Not because it's a mad, and that's why you're really mad. Yeah. First of all, Nicole, it's 2002. I understand. Not everybody has good access to good lace fronts yet.
Oh.
But,
Reading her from beyond? Oh, wait, she's not dead yet.
yeah, don't fucking touch me. Oh, well, she is, though.
What? Oh, she is.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I mean, don't kill your kids and I won't chat shit, I guess. Although I fully was, like, on her side of that movie. I was like, man, fuck them kids.
They were the victims in that movie. No matter what you say to me, they were the victims in that movie.
No.
Now let me tell you why you're wrong.
Nah. I want to call Kidman, but enough about the others.
But so
I don't even know what that said. That sounds like
the
you
gag of
recorded
all
that
gags.
It sounds like you recorded that off a calculator, guy.
Whatever. At least I'm putting effort into it. Bitch.
I mean, I showed up, didn't I?
You
are not on my level!
age-wise.
I never will be.
Okay, right. We have shited on there for a good 4.5 minutes. Holy fuck.
It's a game.
Yes, listen, darling. It is the SLAB. We have decided to do...
We're talking about ghosts.
We're talking about boosts.
A boot ghost.
Ghost. Ghast.
A boot Canadian
a wraith.
ghost. A boot Canadian ghost.
Poltergeists. Yes.
Look, I'm so sorry.
Try not to sound so
damn
Canadian.
sorry.
You have universal healthcare. I'm like, shut up.
So anyway,
Okay, right. So, ghosts. Now, this is a very, very broad topic to start with. So, what we did was we wanted to we want to dive into it, yes. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to, but is it fashion though?
1, 2, 3, go.
We wanted to give sort of a general overview and then give you some really kind of cool facts that me and Lee kind of like composited together, because it's going to be a fun episode. So make sure to tune in. It's going to be good. So
I mean, you're already here.
You're already here,
So don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere.
So yeah, I think ghosts is like a really great topic, and I'm actually kind of
Yeah.
surprised it took us to get here.
This long, yeah.
Yeah, just because I feel like ghosts are kind of like the
over
original.
a year late to the party. What can I say?
But the ghosts are like kind of the original monster, I kind of
Spook,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah, like everybody has their idea of what the afterlife is, even more so kind of in ancient times.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of as we know, a lot of those superstitions get passed down, you know, from like millennia to millennia. So like, yeah, I think ghosts is a great topic because it's so universal.
Yes.
Like every culture has their own version of like, where does the soul go, or like what is a ghost, you know?
Yeah. Well, I actually, come to think of it, I think we probably should start with that. Like, what if you had to describe...
Okay, a textbook definition. What's your definition of ghost?
So, I suppose if I was to go with the most basic of interpretations, the concept of a ghost would be...
Like, you're writing a dictionary. What's under ghost for you?
oh, God. Well, the spirit of a deceased person that has yet to move on.
Yeah,
I suppose.
yeah,
what I
I'd
mean?
say that's kind of
Because like when you hear ghost, and I think we even talked about it briefly in kind of like the hereafter part of the others, was the fact that a ghost is someone who has unfinished business with the living. You know,
generally, yeah.
Because I wouldn't call a ghost if they weren't on this plane of existence. You know, I would call them a spirit had they passed on.
And I feel like
Does
that's
that
very
make sense?
Western as well.
Yes.
I feel like
God, white people, man.
the
what can I
East and
say?
stuff like that though have a very different kind of idea of what ghosts are and stuff. We'll get into furniture that has become a ghost and stuff like that. But yeah, I think like that's generally kind of how it's seen portrayed in media. That
Yes.
like a ghost can stop becoming a ghost once their business is finished.
Yes.
You know, and then I think it's also important to point out the difference between ghosts and poltergeists.
Yes.
Like Freddy Krueger is a poltergeist, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I
but,
think it
like
took a
Casper is a
while.
ghost. Actually, no, I genuinely do think Casper and all that shit is more of a poltergeist because it's like Casper and his
They're
gang.
literally possessing shit all the time.
Yeah, I think literally it's like the definition is like poltergeists are ghosts that are like there to annoy you and
Yes.
kind of agitate and piss you off. You know, ghosts that like actively kind of make your shit annoying. You know,
Yeah.
they make your day harder.
You get out of here!
Don't come back. Stop making my TV switch to the porn channel.
But yeah, for real, I think it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I suppose obviously my interpretation is a very Western interpretation of a ghost, because yeah, like we have sort of been spoon-fed images of, you know, ghosts standing next to their graves or wearing shrouds.
Like a sheet ghost.
Yeah, wearing shrouds, haunting like the hallways of some, you know, Victorian manor in, you know,
Yeah.
in a pumpkin garden. Do you know what I mean? Like these.
You had an idea. In your
Yeah,
head
yeah.
there.
But you know what I mean? Like it's very
We don't get modern ghosts.
it's very Catholic.
Oh, well, also,
sort of
yeah, there's
interpretation
also,
of it, you know.
Yeah, I feel like that's also very, very much so ingrained in Catholicism and Christianity kind of as a whole, is like
Yeah.
apparitions or seeing Mary, things like that, visions of religious figures or people past or whatever. I feel like is very, very tied to religion.
Yes.
But I like that they kind of went into that in the others, where it was like Nicole Kidman. It didn't really take that much to convince her because she was so devout and was kind of like, okay, you know, and it actually kind of turns out that those people are in purgatory, so they're ghosts, but they're being haunted It's like
by
it's like
the
kind of a
living.
reverse Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Or no, it's kind of
No, it's
exactly,
the same. Yeah,
it's reverse
It's a
Beetlejuice.
more serious version of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Beetlejuice is the others up until Barbara and Adam are like, oh, we're ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I also am obsessed with the kind of Beetlejuice like
Aesthetic.
show for ghosts in the afterlife and stuff
Yeah.
like that. The idea that like you go and you kind of have like you are how you died, you know. But the idea that like the afterlife is just like a big waiting room. You know, and like, you have the kind of the rogues gallery of like the dude who was, or the chick that was cut in half, Miss Argentina.
was
If I knew what I
burned.
knew then, I wouldn't have had my little accident.
Yeah.
You know, and the one that always creeped me out the most in that waiting room was the shrunken head. Creeped me out so much.
Yeah.
Just something with big eyes used to always fuck with me as a kid.
I think that it's important to note that we are going to be talking a good bit about, like, obviously our experiences with ghosts and things like that, but we will be talking about like different kind of
we doing ghost stories too?
Yeah, hell
yeah, I
yeah.
have a
Like
few.
everyone has their own fucking banshee story. Like, we're fucking Irish. Like this shit is like lit. You know what I'm saying? I do think we should note the demarcation between the point of no return, which was I firmly believe that ghosts, at least in media, completely changed after The Shining, whereas prior to The Shining it was always whoa, whereas in The Shining it was just, you know, the ghost standing there saying great party, isn't it? That type of thing. Because after
Just
that,
the casual ghost.
just the casual ghost, because
is not
like,
your
and then you
father's
have the
ghost.
same with like nowadays with like American Horror Story, where they're not appearing as these glowing spectral figures. There are these people just living in the house with you, but you can't see them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
I think
type
that's
thing.
what ruined American Horror Story for me. Was like, I loved the conceit in the first season of get her back in the house, like get them back in the house, and they can become a ghost and live there forever. But then it became a thing that like wherever you die, or I guess like specific buildings, if you die there, then you can kind of live on afterwards. But like that all kind of lost a lot of impact. Like when Adelaide, when she died in the first season, when she got hit by the van or hit by the ambulance or whatever, I think, and Jessica Lange is just like,
I'm a pretty girl.
like, but that's so sad. I
Yeah.
thought that was like such a good episode. Again, the Halloween episode, the first Halloween episode for American Horror Story, and she's just like pulling her into the house. She's trying to get her onto the property so
Before
that
she
she can like
passes.
remain.
Yeah.
But again, that's like a curse on Addie's part. Is like she would have been trapped there forever with Tate and the rest, you know.
Yeah.
And that pregnant chick
Yeah.
that buried underneath the
ran
cement.
away, yeah.
That first season of American Horror Story is so good.
I do, yeah, like that's also like a very interesting fact is that
this off.
that thought process of where the person had died, like many societies did begin to use funeral rites, rituals, rites, all of that kind of thing as a way of ensuring that the dead person's spirit would not be able to return to quote unquote haunt the living in that area. So
Like,
like
have death be final, and that's it.
yeah, and that's like when we say ash to ashes, dust to dust, and we commit our brother or our sister to the ground, to the earth from which they came, is because they want that person to have that as their final resting
Yeah,
place.
it's the finality.
You know what I
I'll
mean?
see on the other side kind of thing.
Exactly. It's that part where they have this, well, you see, look, we kind of put you in that 7 feet under, you ain't digging that up, you ain't coming back up.
Oh, she went 7.
She went 7. She was
Just to be
7.
sure, yeah.
You know, 6 feet under, all that kind of thing, and it's a very strong
They're gonna have to bury me
message
6 feet 9
that
inches. Just to make room.
with an extra brother.
It's gonna need its own separate
Yeah.
coffin. Yeah.
But no, but I do think it is a really interesting fact that I mean nowadays it's more so for like I think in funerals specifically nowadays it's more so for finality with the living rather than the dead,
Closure.
because it's closure, exactly, because and I want to tread around that kind of you
Also,
know
you
point
can't just
kind
have
of
whoever died
lightly.
just sitting in your gaff.
True.
Kind of have to put them somewhere.
I want to kind of tread around that fact lightly because there are some people that have different beliefs to us and all that kind of thing.
They won't
But
mind, they're all dead.
I'm not talking about the dead. I'm talking about our listeners. So it is a lot more so for closure, but way back when these rituals were started and the funeral rites were being written and all that kind of thing, it was more so out of the fear of the dead returning, not physically but spiritually, to, as I said, quote unquote, haunt the living. So it's very interesting that ironically the one thing that the living use the dead for as closure, the living used to use that as a preventative measure, shall we say, way back when, which is just
it's just an
crazy.
extra kick in the head, though, basically, to be like, I'm gonna make sure you're dead.
Yeah. We are not putting a bell next to your grave this time.
No, I'm gonna have a glass coffin. It could be Snow White as fuck. Watch me
love
decompose to bits.
I thought you were gonna go for airtight and then, like, you know, have heavenly bodies all type deal where you cover yourself in jewels and shit.
Yeah, be able to see it happening.
What, like Rasputin type thing? Or not Rasputin type thing, like, what's his name?
Lenin.
Lenin, yeah.
Yeah, well,
or he's
no,
more
because
maquette now than he
I was
is
gonna say,
body.
Lenin's tomb in Russia or whatever like that, it's just a sculpture of Lenin on top of Lenin's skeleton.
Can we just talk about that for a sec? That tomb is gorgeous.
Suspiria all over. It's just
that.
red.
It's a black pyramid outside. It's a
Kremlin red on the
I
inside.
love
Scarlet,
it.
and it's just this big, like Snow White coffin.
I love it.
Like, it's not even a coffin; it's a big glass box, which I know like sounds the same, but it's like it's kind of diamond shaped. It's got all this like silver filigree kind of around the edge. It's very kind of low pan, Big Trouble Little China kind of, like that kind of thing.
I can see that.
Who also that movie also is big on ghosts, big on like Eastern mythology for ghosts and stuff, and demons and appease and all that kind of stuff. But because they didn't preserve him super well, and because he was just kind of left in what is basically open air, they just had to keep like adding little pieces of like mortician's wax. So now he's been dead for what, like 60 years or something like that. So now it's just a sculpture of him on top of his skeleton, which is like metal as fuck though.
Yeah,
I think that's so cool. I love the idea of like doing something interesting with the body afterwards, you know, while it's still warm. But
ooh, girl,
no, for real. But like, again, we have all these things and we have all these rituals and all these traditions so as to feel like, okay, like I've kind of appeased you. I'm hoping that this like send off is enough to keep you satisfied, like going off in the end, so you don't have anything to come back and regret, you know. And that's the thing. I think like ghosts have a very simple kind of psychological explanation of like, it's your grief or it's your regrets or whatever it is that something you can't get over. So you are like, even if you don't believe in ghosts and the supernatural, all that shit, you can still very much so tangibly be haunted by somebody who is dead. Yeah. You know, the idea that you see them in your mind or whatever it is, you know, it's kind of different than seeing like a physical apparition of
the memory. It's the emotions that are tied to it. Yeah. Exactly. I do think, just very quick, that the word ghost itself, this is just purely just me being a fucking mythos nerd and shit. So the Old English, it's where at least our Western I know you're gonna say like is perceived from is from the Old English, which is ghast, so ghastly and all that kind of, it's in the sense it's either describes spirit or soul. So we don't get the word ghost as like those kind of interchangeable there. Exactly. So we don't get the word ghost from a Latin interpretation. It is ghast, which was the first word, which is the literal interpretation of spirit or soul, and then from that word we derive ghost. Or it could also be Germanic in origin, which is Geist. Poltergeist. Yeah. So the GH spelling occurs is very much influenced by Flemish and all of that kind of thing. So we get Geist as well. So we basically just get the word ghost from that. And ironically, the word ghost itself has so many connotations for like spirit, soul, wraith, all of these types of things that just kind of apparition. They create a shape in your mind, about like what you would as imagine as a ghost. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, and that's the thing. I think like I think like everybody, if somebody is like draw a ghost, their first image is to draw a little sheet ghost. Yeah, but you know the one from Scooby-Doo? The one that's like this.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first one that
Very
always
just-
comes to my mind when I hear Ghost.
Just classic Ghost. Or even a twist on that Saints Ghost runway from Dracula Resurrection.
Loved that.
It was perfect.
That was
just a she ghost,
demonic
but
as
the
fuck.
idea of it being like it's something else dressing up as a ghost.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not a little kid under there. I thought that was so
It was
twisted.
the eyes that did it for me. It was the
Yeah.
eyes and the teeth, and the fact that the holes were just
Just
it was
so-
just there, and then the mouth was just this.
Just
and
with the
then
like
it
little
was
flash
just-
of
Oh, I
teeth.
love it. It was
she
great.
she painted herself like jet black underneath, and just this like beautiful lace kind of fitted mask, almost kind of, but it was
reminded
for all
me like
intents and purposes
Victorian
a
frills
chic
and
ghost.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just made it of like whatever curtains or whatever. But
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of a weird interpretation because we don't actually ever really see that in media.
But you see, that's why I thought it was so effective, because I was like, I would have. I mean, I suppose apart from maybe like Pennywise, like it dressing up as a clown, it's sort of the same thought process. But I loved the idea of like Saint just explained, like it was a demon who was going around door to door and just being like, give me
guise.
shit or I will fucking eat you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love it, and like it's very good. It's very good.
And so even kind of getting into Pennywise there, I feel like yes, Pennywise is an alien, but there is kind of
Sorry, can we just give it to Saint
I was
for
like,
that one
why?
thing? I gotta give it to Saint. Well done.
But
Go
like,
you.
with Pennywise
You deserved
and that kind of whole story or whatever like that, a lot of that is to do with grief, and we're familiar with seeing Georgie or Ben's father and stuff like that as ghosts, but those are kind of apparitions like you give into them by Pennywise. You know, it's like not a
Yes.
ghost per se, but it's like that whole story kind of comes back to grief and being haunted by regrets we have with people who have died. And that's the thing, it's like death is one of those like it's kind of the only thing you can't even try to like rectify. So there's no
It's final.
exactly like it is like the final countdown. It's like there's no way to go back, there's no way to fix anything. So people can genuinely just be haunted, you know.
Yeah, because like ghosts also have this interpretation where, like I said earlier, it can be a very much if there's no closure, like it's like, I hate to kind of like bring it up as a thing, but like not being able to say goodbye to loved ones can often be more terrible for the living than anything else, because
Well,
it's
the
that
person's dead.
yeah, because like it's again, as I said, like death is final, so like it's very very hard to kind of.
It's weird.
It's
I
a
think
gut
that's
punch,
something,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's why we have things like religion and myth and things like ghosts, is so that we can kind of like put it into like a more tangible box and be like, well, maybe it's not so final, because I think like the idea of like heaven and hell scares people, but I think the idea of there being like nothing and not like even being aware that there's nothing, it's just how it was before you were born, you just cease to exist, I think that also freaks people out.
Yeah,
just as much, you know.
These questions freak people out so much that they're willing to believe anything that will offer them comfort, because like, I mean, losing a loved one and then, let's say, not, for example, being not believing anything can be heartbreaking, because like there's death is so final, whereas if your belief in, like, let's say, reincarnation or karma or anything like that, you know that A, they've gone to a better place, or B, they come back and, you know, energy never dies, it's just recycled and given something else, you know. So like, I think I agree with you there. I think these questions of dealing with, like you said, grief, or dealing with, you know, existential fears, shall we say, of life after death,
the beyond,
or sitting in that waiting room, waiting to see Juno, your caseworker, can be.
They can smoke in there though. They have cigarettes.
Yeah, that's grand. Yeah.
Also, in American Horror Story, if you die with a packet of cigarettes on you, you always have them.
You always have them.
Like, what's it? Hypodermic Sally.
Yeah.
That was great. That poor bitch, man. She was a great ghost. There's that scene in a hotel, which I think is like the other ghost-centered one. Like, I think all seasons of American.
1984 as well.
But that's also not like. I don't feel like ghosts are like the
Oh no, it's
like,
wholly part
the
of the plot.
main
Like the
thing.
second half of the plot is ghosts.
No, but All American Horror Story has ghosts, but like the focus being like our main thing is ghosts. I love the idea of like seeing everybody trapped in different time periods and stuff like that. But there's this scene where one of the kids is running through.
Can we just turn off and not text me when I'm fucking having a podcast? Thank you.
That's on you, sweetie.
I know.
But yeah, she like sees like one of the kids. I think it's like the detective's kid or whatever, and she just grinds her teeth like out of her skull.
Yes.
In front of it, you know. I love that.
It's so metal.
Like she's just like a malicious ghost.
Yeah.
You know, and then we obviously find out that like her story is like super tragic and like it is really sad, and that scene of her getting pushed out the window is so funny. Just Kathy Bates coming up and just being like,
she just
and
gets
her-
one hand at her face.
yeah, for real. And then the idea of like that kind of
That
like,
would not work though. Imagine that just being like,
I'm gonna grab you and pull you down
Do
with
it.
me. I'm gonna land on your big body, Kathy Bates. Fuck you. But that shot of her, it's like the shot from Psycho where there's like the camera is like affixed on her and she just kind of like like freaks out on her way down. She has all that time. But
she has all that time. She could have posed for that camera like,
But yeah, I feel like a lot of where we get stuff now is like for our ideas of ghosts in the afterlife all comes from media, but again, all
Absolutely.
that stuff comes from religion and kind of ancient texts
Yes.
and ancient beliefs. Like all that is trickled down, and I think that's why ghosts are so common. You know, because they're everywhere. Everybody has like a ghost story.
Yes.
Or if you're Irish, you have, like you said, like a banshee story or
Oh my
or
God.
something like that. You know.
Can I tell you about my granddad's experience with a banshee?
I have one too.
Okay, so I'll go first. So my granddad was driving down this long and windy road in the back arse of nowhere in Meath, because it's old peopleville there. And
Yeah, you were coming from there.
yeah, so you and I both hail from there. So
I'm
well,
an import.
you're an import.
I went for the scenery.
Yeah, and the quietness.
I'm
It's
not
great.
from Meath, okay?
So, my granddad was driving down a long and lonely winding road, and he was. Oh, and sorry, can I just interrupt? Is the other one is where your grandmother or your mother said they woke up and they see someone sitting at the end of their bed. God, the amount of times I've heard that one. So he was driving down the road. It was raining and it was also really, really misty as fuck out. He stopped because there was a woman standing at the other side, on the opposite side of the road. He slowed down. He wanted to go help her and blah, blah, blah. And she was just standing there. She didn't answer him. She didn't do anything. But she did have long hair, though.
Yeah, people like that are from Meath, you know? They're all like that
And
out
then
there.
he drove away, and
A banshee in a car.
he drove away because he was sufficiently creeped out by this weird ass bitch. And later he realized that that was a banshee.
Did she scream?
I don't know about that now, but that's what he said to me.
I feel like that's my like vision of a banshee is like a woman
Darby
with like
O'Gill and the little people.
Well, no, you know, like, I feel like that might have been my intro, but like that is not the vision of banshee I have in my head. I feel like banshee is like, to me, like what my classic version of like witch is just like kind of haggard woman, long hair, almost always white hair in my head, and like a broken comb.
Yeah.
That's also supposed to be a sign of a banshee is if you find a comb in the
Yes.
ground with like some of the teeth pulled out of it and stuff. But yeah, for y'all like that don't know, banshees are kind of not malevolent, but they're kind of scary. They come as a warning where it's supposed to just be like
they're
or somebody's gonna die.
Yeah,
Like, somebody you know is gonna die, and
they're not the direct cause of it though. They're
No.
just
the idea of them is scary because
Yes.
of what they
represent.
imply. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But like banshees themselves are kind of just like neutral chaos. You know, where it's just
I
like
would agree with that.
I'm not going to tell you who's going to die, but like,
But
you better
somebody's
figure
gonna
it out.
die.
Yeah, you better figure it out. I feel like we'll pepper in these little kind of ghost stories.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I feel like my banshee story is like not super interesting. Just like
No, mine wasn't interesting either. But like,
well, when my great granddad died, the night he died, my nanny and granddad were at home, and they only had I think they only had my uncle Simon at the time, and I think, are they like one of the? This is when like all my uncles and my mom and all were like babies, like baby babies.
Yeah.
And I think it was my Uncle Simon or my Uncle Stewie. I think one of them makes more sense.
Stewie.
But it was standing at the like the crib was in the room or whatever like that, and it was like standing in his crib like calling out for Gaga or whatever like that, you know, which is like what I don't know if other people do that, but that's kind of what all my family call granddad is Gaga or whatever. I think it's like because it's what kids can pronounce and then it just sticks. But was calling out for Gaga or whatever like that, like, and just kind of baby babbling out to the air, like out to nothing or whatever. And yeah, that night my like great granddad died. I always find that shit like super creepy, you know.
Whoa.
But I have a couple of like personal ones as well. I think I feel like we'll get there. They're kind of fun, but also like they're fucking scary. You know? It's just like like what's the implication of having like a ghost interaction or some kind of interaction like that, you know?
Yeah. Well, also the other thing that I love the idea about is these types of encounters and things like that might not even be ghosts. They could be people from other dimensions. They could be aliens. They could be transvestite hooking aliens. They could be anything, and I love this idea that it could be like what's the thing, Interstellar, where it's our future selves that are trying to contact us, or it's people from the fucking fifth dimension or whatever, and all this type of thing. That sort of stuff is infinitely what
they sing. Age of Aquarius. Not the Sunshine.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that song.
The fifth dimension. I love you guys.
It's make sure to follow us. The Age of Aquarius. Yeah, but I love that idea where it doesn't always have to just be it's the spirit of a dead loved one. It could be a person from 500 years into the future that has opened up a dimensional doorway into our universe.
That's not a ghost.
But like it's like there's always there's these interpossibilities, you know. Anyway, so the other thing I really wanted to talk about is the deliberate trials and tribulations of trying to contact the dead.
I feel like it's dumb. Like, it was always kind of better.
Okay.
It is. Like, I feel like it was always bet into my head. Like, I wouldn't say my family are super religious or, like, super superstitious. But, like, that sounded like the title of a song. But, it was always kind of bet into me where it was like, don't fuck around with Ouija boards.
Yes.
Like, just don't do all that. No spirit boards. None of that shit. And
I used to call them Luigi boards. That's what I... Because I didn't know what they were really called.
It's also French and German for yes.
Oh, Ouija.
But yeah, I feel like
Genau.
for some reason I always had this like weird like kind of respect for that, where I was like, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, no calling the corners for me. I feel like I did do all that kind of shit when I was like 13, 14, whatever, you know, where, like when you think you're a witch or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, for real, it was always kind of ingrained in me that like like we're not religious, but like
but don't fuck with that.
Yeah. You know,
I as a just in case there's 3 different types of deliberate attempts of contacting spirits of deceased people, and A.
Are there any ghosts in here?
A is a seance. B is spiritism.
Seance and
and the last one, which is it's dark magic, is necromancy. Necromancy. From a 2,000-year-old shaman, necromancy. Oh, I fucking love her.
Swings blades, bro.
Oh, I love it. With her iPad in the crocodile's mouth.
And the crocodile's skull, she's got her foot resting on.
Oh, I love it.
God, Angela Bassett is a queen.
Love her. Deep salute. So yeah, the first one was obviously seances. So seances were extremely popular in the usually I would say between the late 1800s,
turn of the century,
late of the turn of the century, late 1800s to about 1930 at most. They were very popular.
Like ectoplasm and stuff.
Yeah.
We actually see a perfect example of this in the others.
Yes.
Like that's always my kind of vision of what like a kind of a mystic, kind of is, you know?
Yes.
It's like, this shit is like floating around. There's goo. People are spitting up ectoplasm or like
Yes.
gack, whatever, you know?
So, like, in seances, a medium would be called. Usually he or she is a clairvoyant, a person who has made and can maintain contact with the dead. And they would be called to summon the dead, basically, the deceased relatives of anyone who's wishing to
They have the gift.
contact with them. They have the sight. And the best two that I can immediately think of is A, Whoopi Goldberg.
Molly and Danger Girl.
A show is ugly.
I actually have never seen The Color Purple.
Have you not? It's a
No.
great movie. It's fantastic. You'd love it. You
I did see
really
Oprah
would.
punch that lady out though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one, obviously, is The Others. And then you actually have Lynn Shay, who is in Insidious, who plays a clairvoyant. But it's a little OTT, that
You know
one.
they have to regret killing her off in the first movie.
Of course they do. They tried to bring her back so many times.
I remember watching that movie
Prequels
for the
and then
first
sequels being in the further, whatever it's called.
I like the idea that they did just turn her into a ghost, though.
Yeah.
Like, she's a poltergeist for ghosts. Like, she, like, switches shit up on them. I remember
Yeah.
that movie when that came out, though. Me and Yami watched it, and creeped me the fuck out, but also some of it was so dumb.
Yeah.
Just when she's like, the further. It's so fucking stupid. But also, we get into demons and ghosts in that, where it's like, ghosts were people and demons never were.
Yes.
So that's why, like, that's the main difference. And one is exclusively malevolent and insidious, and then others are kind of desperate and terrified,
So then the next level is Spiritism. And Spiritism is exactly what you were talking about. It is contacting the dead through darker means, i.e. Trying to wake the dead and trying to contact them through Ouija boards and things like that. Without the proper respectful manners.
Mika is a perfect example of that from the first Paranormal Activity.
Yes.
Katie is like,
fucking up that.
she's like, yo, like, don't fucking do this. Like, I don't want to, like, interact with it. I don't want to piss it off. And he's like, okay. She's like, please promise me you won't buy a Ouija board. And he's like, yeah, I promise I won't buy a Ouija board.
Winking
so he just,
at the camera.
like, borrows one. And just, like, no, and then he just, like, leaves it there on the table, and we see that
goes on fire.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a planchette or if it's actually just a glass or something like that he's put on it, but yeah, the board burns up or whatever. And that was basically like he never like finished the session. I think he like says hello, starts it, and never finishes it.
Oh yeah,
with
just
a
walks
goodbye,
out. Yeah.
And just leaves it there. So you just leave and open this kind of portal or whatever.
It's like leaving a ghost on red.
Yeah. Seriously though, it's just like leaving him at your gaff. You know, there's no I think you should leave now, or there's no there's no cut off, you know,
because the rules of the Ouija board are you call for whoever you're looking for.
Yeah, there's always a hello and
you
goodbye.
hope that person you're speaking to is the person you're looking for, because there's never a confirmation of that, and a ghost or demon or this or that isn't required to reveal the truth, because you're not with the proper channels, I want to say.
And we get into that in Insidious as well. The kind
yeah.
of end seance scene for that is like it's like I'm not Dalton or whatever. I love the idea of it just being like you're not talking to like who you think you're talking to.
Yeah.
Those
are always great reveals
weird.
in horror movies. I
the
love
kid
that.
stands up and slams his hand on the table and everybody gets thrown back. Like, that movie is basically Poltergeist.
With a demon.
With a demon, yeah, exactly. The Poltergeist is a great example of how you do ghosts and show that ghosts are like nature, like they're not just inherently bad, or they're not just inherently evil. It's like
they're
a lot of times
chaos.
they're also just as scared or just as desperate and just as lost, you know?
Yeah.
That man, what's his fucking name? The Reverend in that movie freaks me out. Like, freaked me the fuck out when I was a kid.
The Reverend?
Are you lost, honey? Yeah, I sing the song.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because he's so sickly looking.
Yeah, he looks like a cancer victim or something.
He was. He like literally like was dying like on set. But because like he's got like one layer of skin and it's like clear.
Yeah,
and like
it looks
all the
translucent.
flesh. Yeah, exactly.
His
all the
teeth
flesh
are like
is
visible in his lips.
Just because like everything, like he looks like a dead person just walking around. It's so fucking creepy.
Yeah.
But like they have, I think their cult was all about like like we'll be fine if the world ends.
Yeah, because
like,
they
we'll
were
continue
doomsday,
on.
weren't they? Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
went
yeah.
out into the desert and buried themselves in that cave. Oh, I can't wait to get to Poltergeist. Honestly, it's our namesake.
It's our namesake. I love it.
Yeah.
So the last tier is necromancy, and necromancy is it's basically untapped messing with the dead.
Yeah.
There's no respect for the deceased in it. There's no. And also, this is the Western perseverance of necromancy, because insanely, friend, it's diddling with the dead. It really is. it is, because like I always think back to
You're
the
just
haunting
using a
in
corpse
Connecticut
for, like as a tool.
tool, and like you can very easily angry the dead by doing that. And
a lot of seance ectoplasm shit in that movie too.
yes, there is.
Yeah.
Yes, and I love those photographs of the kid with it, like just tilting his head back, and it's this geyser of ectoplasm.
Yeah, there's like bodies in the walls and shit in that movie. I haven't seen
and
that
that's
since it came
exactly
out.
what I was saying. He uses them as an amplifier for the kid's powers. And the thing about necromancy is, as I said, like it's literally just diddling with the dead. It is fucking up the natural
Consent is sexy even when they're dead.
it's messing with the natural law of things, and like
Yeah.
once you are dead, you are dead. The fact that the spell that he used was to remove their eyelids so they would never sleep or find peace was even worse, because the spells that he had cut into the deceased bodies trapped the souls within the walls. So every time that something got worse, the spirits would remain angrier themselves, and it would just get worse and progressively just fuck shit up. And that's why necromancy is severely frowned upon.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
You know,
think,
I mean,
we
it's
often
robbing
see that.
graves, quite literally, and,
Yeah.
and removing the peaceful sleep. Which is why, like, when you go to you close the dead's eyes, because you do want them to find peace in darkness and all of that kind of thing. Which is, again, it's just the Western interpretation of that, but it's what I know, really. You know, I guess.
Yeah, for my interactions with the dead, I always make sure the eyes are
Story,
closed.
bro.
No, for real, you know, that's why like there is so much like tradition wrapped up in that. Is like people generally want death to be as peaceful and as kind of uneventful as possible. Like you don't want to have any, like it's supposed to just be like, okay, there it is, and now the grieving part can start. But,
Yes.
yeah, that's the old kicker, is like what happens when that shit kind of like remains around. You know, and now, like you were saying earlier, The Shining. I think The Shining is weird because people, they're not classic ghosts per se, because there's also some kind of weird like time, kind of vortex shit in that where
Yes.
Jack is back there and all that kind of stuff. And even I think, even when we get to Dr. Sleep, they kind of go away from ghosts and kind of get specifically into people who shine. But when we get to the Overlook at the end of that, at least the movie, I actually like didn't read the book properly, because I don't think it's supposed to be very good. But we get at the end of that, they're like starving. Like I love that. Like that's like such a perfect ending, you know, because we never actually got to see what the exact intentions of those ghosts were in The Shining.
Yes.
You know, the idea that like they wanted to have Danny to kind of, I guess, he was a light for them, kind of, which is similar also kind of to Poltergeist and to Insidious and stuff like
Yes.
that. We see like children and animals particularly have a different relationship with ghosts and stuff like that. They often say that like animals, kind of especially dogs, and children have a weird like blankness to them, that they can kind of see that stuff, you know. It's like
There's no wall there as
Exactly.
you grow older.
like dogs don't feel like, oh, I'd be dumb if I believed in a ghost. You know, dogs don't have that, and neither do kids. That's why kids are so fucking creepy as well. They have like they're not even aware that you should have a filter yet, so they just say what they mean.
Yeah.
But there's been plenty of times where I'll be out the back smoking a J or whatever like that, and the dogs will just like stare at one spot where there's nothing there, and it's like, what are you seeing?
Yeah.
Like, what is catching your attention that I can't see? What am I not picking up on? You know, that always kind of creeps me out. But I don't know. I was trying to reassure myself with the like ghosts inherently are not bad.
Yes.
You know, also I haven't like killed anyone or robbed anybody that's dead, so like I feel like I'm good for now. Stay on my good side.
Well, you know me, I will die before you. I'm ancient, so
That's what I'm fucking worried about. I don't want you hanging around, maybe.
well, you know, I see the thing about that is it's very interesting. Like, you should mention like the whole of what are they perceiving versus what are you not picking up on, and I do firmly attribute that to, like you said, like not having a filter, but like us sort of closing ourselves off to being open.
I couldn't believe that. That's ridiculous.
Exactly, because like mentally you're fortifying yourself as you get older that like there's no monsters, you know, in the darkness, or there's no scary, you know, monster.
The tree outside your window is not going to get you.
Yeah, it's not going to think. So like you gradually start to build up a wall that is like, well, everything has to be compartmentalized behind that, and then that's bricked up, you know?
Like, what do I choose to let myself believe in?
It's like you're actively closing your third eye to everything. Do you know what I mean?
It is, and that's the thing. I think, like, and again, I feel like us two in particular, I feel like, and maybe, like, some of our other friends to an extent, are kind of on our, like, way of thinking.
Yeah.
And I feel like the other half is very much so
they
like,
are on our level.
No, but you know what I mean? I feel like, you either feel ridiculous for believing in certain things, or you think people are ridiculous. You know? Like, I feel like a lot of our friends and people we know and stuff like that kind of would, like, just fob off stuff like that, you know? Just another little ghost story. I actually remember we were all hanging out in Bob's. This was years ago, and everybody was in the... Bob. Robert.
Bob.
We were in Bob's gaff, like, years ago, and everybody was playing, like...
Bobby.
Like the Wii or whatever like that, and I was standing in the doorway, and everybody that was in the house was in that room, and I was standing in the doorway just kind of idly watching or whatever like that, and I got like pushed into the room. I got pushed into the room or whatever like that, and yeah, we were all kind of like fucked up a little bit, but like there was very definitely like a physical
shove.
Yeah, and it freaked me out, but also I was kind of like, okay, like I'm good. Also, this isn't my house. Like, I don't know, like, what the crack is or whatever like that. I didn't tell anybody that night either, because, like, I didn't want to be the, like, a ghost, you know? But, like, yeah, certain stuff like that has happened to me where I'm just like, well, I didn't make that up.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not fucking, you know? Like, what can I gain from any of that shit, you know? And my brother Dean as well has, like, swore up and down that he's, like seen like apparitions of like a woman and stuff like that, like in our old house. Yeah. Like when he was staying there alone, you know, always kind of freaked me out as well. Because again, it's like it doesn't even necessarily have to be tied to like the house. It could be like what happened on the land your house is built onto. Very Poltergeist.
Like The Conjuring, all that type of thing. Yeah.
I do always love that though, like the idea of it being like back. I think like in Poltergeist, it's ancient Indian burial ground, stuff like that, which is kind of tricky, but like it's the sentiment is there, is like cursed land, which is huge in America when you think about like how America came about.
Well, to be fair, I think the whole fucking thing is cursed.
For real. Also, if there was ghosts in America, they would be pissed off Native Americans.
Of course
they're not going to be some fucking... I think actually that's the whole thing in the Amityville Horror remake, is we get a lot of Native American ghosts and stuff like that, because the guy Jack Ketchum like tortured and killed natives and stuff like that in like in that house on that land, so that's why they all appear there. You know, I would kind of like to see a little bit more of that, not native pain, but like the idea of ghosts being like
you tread difficult ground right there.
No, but like the idea of like ghosts not being just somebody who was like kind of, oh, I didn't get to do this before I died. You know, it's the idea of like huge atrocity, or like even like, you know, like World War II ghosts and stuff like that. It's like we don't really get a lot of that. Yeah. You know, like people who, like mass groups of people who were wronged. It's like, how would...
On the Battle of the Somme, thousands of people died.
Yeah, it's like, how would they manifest their feelings if they could, you know, and that would be terrifying.
Well, you see, it's very interesting you should mention something like that, because...
I know.
Well, you see, the thing is that, like, the belief in existence in the afterlife, as well as, like, manifestations of spirits and shit like that, is widespread. And has been dating back to, like, antiquity. And it goes far as, like, anonism and, like, ancestor worship and all of that type thing in pre-literature cultures. So, like, what you're saying there about, like, how they would manifest emotions and how they would... You know, it's the same as, like, and I hate to bring it up, but I'd say it would be the same as, like, being in Krakow, or in Dachau, or anything like that, in, like, the death camps and things like that for World War II. It's like, it's that feeling of sadness, the despair, everything like that. Like, to me, that's what, or at least that's what I feel like you're talking about.
That's exactly on the nose.
Like just being in that area, I can imagine, like, the anger I would feel, and the emotional run through that you would go through being in that place is metaphysical as well. It would be from them, do you know?
And frankly, I agree.
Oh my god, stop! You fucking bitch!
She doesn't
Oh
mind.
my god! Oh my god, stop! Oh no!
That was brewing as you were going into this, like, very sad, very, like,
You were
deep...
fucking holding that in. I know you were.
I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I literally, like, smiled like the Grinch. It just, like, crept up on my face, like, I'm well gonna use that.
Oh my god.
What, too soon?
Never again, Rabbi. Never again. Oh my god.
No, it's too chewy.
But, my god.
No, but yeah, I would love to see, like, a little bit more of that kind of represented, because it's like, if we're going on classic interpretations of ghosts, it's people who were wronged or people who had unfinished business.
Yes.
It's like, I don't think those feelings are kind of any more present in groups of oppressed people who were killed, i.e. kind of like the Irish or slaves, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that'd be a great foundation to kind of build on. You know, there's a lot there if we're just going by sorrow and regret and life being cut short, like, in the middle. It's like, I think, like,
happiness being extinguished and just nothing but, like, pain and misery, you know?
Yeah, like, why are all Civil War ghosts white? What the fuck? That doesn't even make sense. You know, where's all the Spanish Inquisition ghosts and shit like that? Where's all those movies?
It's true, yeah.
Well, we have La Llorona.
That's more so. It's like Baba Yaga. That's telling a story to scare your kids to go to bed. That's not an actual historical thing that happened.
Oh, what are we talking about? Facts here? Or are we talking about ghosts?
All right.
Also,
fair enough.
She's not a witch like Baba Yaga. She's a ghost.
Well,
what do you mean, well? Why are you fucking fighting me on this for?
well is the place you draw water from.
You said well. Watch, let me slap that fucking... Is that a coffee jar?
Yeah.
The ghetto. But yeah, no, the idea that, like...
You wouldn't be so happy if this was filled with lemon iced tea and you'd be sitting out the back sipping out of it.
No, look at the fucking dirt of that thing. I'd kick that thing over in a heartbeat. But, I wouldn't even flick my ashes in that thing. But, no, but, like, so just kind of, like, starting to actually get to less westernized kind of ideas of ghosts and stuff like that. Things like that, you know, she was, again, I'm not super familiar with it, but the idea of, like, the burning tears, I think there's, like, she's kind of tied to, like, specific types of plants.
Yes.
And things like that grow around rivers and certain
bodies
kinds of
of
trees
water,
and stuff. And the stories, like, she, it was like her husband, like, left her or cheated on her or something, and she, like, went mad with rage, or, like, kind of went into, like, a huge despair and, like, killed her children.
Yeah.
You know, and then, like, yeah, it is kind of a classic ghost story of, like, the don't stay out late, or this will happen
Yeah.
to you. But like I
Respect your parents, that kind of thing.
the idea of using faith to scare your children. I used to do that when I was younger. Like, well, not when I was younger. Like when my little brother was younger, because I'm like super fiercely protective. Where I'm like, don't go out of my sight. So I had him convinced when he was a little kid that like there was a ghost that lived not at the top of our road, but just around the corner from the top of our road. So if he like went out of sight, there would be a ghost. So he was always freaked out enough to just stay on the road. You know. See, trauma can be very useful. I don't know. Better than hitting people, I guess.
Well, capital punishment and all that. That's, you know, the best,
Catholic
really.
punishment.
Well,
Capital P punishment.
wow. Wow. I would agree. I think sort of getting into like different types of cultures and things like that, and having different types of ideas of how the East meets West, the different interpretations of ghosts are interesting. And I generally love it. I think it's interesting. You should like La Llorona and all of that is different types of things. So you would have like things like Day of the Dead, which is celebrated in Mexico. It's very similar to very me. It's very similar in ideology to All Souls Day, but it is a little bit more. It's a little bit more cultured. It's a little bit more celebratory rather than a day of mourning. Whereas, like in the Catholic world of, say, Ireland, you would have an All Souls Day, and it would just be mourning the deceased and things like that. Whereas,
yeah, they have elote.
Yeah, they have.
They got corn with mayo on it.
I love that. Where they believe that it's a belief where the ghosts of their deceased relatives return to the land of the living, and they would often open up the doors to their homes. They would light candles. They would have ofrendas, which would be bread of the dead. You would have their photographs, their favorite food, maybe some drink, things like that. At their offerings, their offering table, which would entice them to come back and join them for the night, because it's the same with Irish tradition of Halloween, where it's the time of the year when the veil between the land of the living and the land of the dead is at its thinnest. So like people can cross over and return to the land of the living.
We have All Souls Night and stuff like that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, we do.
We light candles and stuff, which is basic. It's weird. The Irish are weird when it comes to ghosts and stuff like that as well, where it's like, don't come over here, but also here's a light so that you don't get lost.
Yeah.
And the Irish are very, very big into spirits. Like, we will get away from this side of the world, but even like the idea of robins and stuff like that, or butterflies, people are very I feel like that's also very ingrained into, at least for me, but I think kind of Irish culture in general, it's like if a loved one passes away, it's like instead of seeing them as
the loved one,
as like a clear, transparent version of themselves, it's in a robin or in a butterfly or something like that.
That's why we don't fuck with butterflies here.
No, I always found that very comforting. Actually, just come to think of it, the other day on a hike with Yemi, we were talking about
love you, Yemi.
Love you, Yemi.
Shout out.
That's my sister right there. But we were talking about just like people in our lives that had kind of passed or whatever like that, and about how we were kind of like about robins and stuff like that. And literally, like, just like out of the fucking blue, these two robins like landed like over there, and then one of them like came over to us and was like chilling in front of us for a few minutes. But it was like, see, this is why I don't feel ridiculous believing in shit like this, because it's like sometimes it's
confirmation.
Exactly, like sometimes like shit like that happens, and it's just like I would feel stupid for denying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so onto like actual other parts of the world where like the basic concept is the same, but the kind of backstory and like reasoning as to why you might stick around or what might stick around. The idea that like in Japan, if you have furniture for long enough, it can become possessed and have like a spirit in it. Kind of reminds me of that saying, it's like, oh, you've been around so long, you're just part of the furniture.
I love that.
But yeah, the idea that like things can become haunted, like specific items can become haunted, or can become kind of like filled with a ghost. I wish I would be filled with a ghost.
Oh my
But,
god. Get some of that ectoplasm.
Can't wait to see Burt Reynolds when I die.
Oh my god. Well, I do think one of them that always kind of pops into my head is the Japanese Kappa. Which is it translated quite literally just to river child, and it's a yokai, which is the spirit of a deceased person, which would be again it's the same thing. It's a person with sort of very kind of practically unfinished business, essentially.
Yeah,
and
very certain brand of Japanese monster, kind of.
Yeah, because like what is going on is that the Kappa would sit in a kind of similar to what La Llorona would be.
Yeah.
Would be sitting in, you know, kind of like low-lying ponds and still waters.
What you don't want your children to go fucking around with.
Yeah, exactly. It's low-lying ponds.
Stay away from there, or Dido will kill you.
Dido will kill you. But it's so like the Kappa would sit there, and essentially what it is it's essentially like it's kind of like hip height. It's a turtle / child kind of looking thing. It's got a tortoise shell on its back, and it's got a bald head that sits just above the water, so it looks like a stepping stone.
It's very Master Roshi from Dragon Ball Z. He wears a turtle thing on his back.
Yes.
And he's bald. And short.
He, essentially, the Kappa awaits for any child willing enough to step on him, essentially. Don't go there. Don't go there. And the child would be taken and dragged into the water and drowned and shit like that. But it's very interesting. I like that one particular. There's also these ones that I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of them, but it's a woman who wears all white, and she only appears in the snow, and she often looks for help, but when you go to help her, she takes you to a cave, she transforms into a half spider woman, and then she eats you.
Oh yeah, I've seen this and stuff. Or we get a lot of it's when I actually hadn't kind of put a lot into Asian culture. I had like certain notes and stuff like that, but I get the idea of like the woman with the slit mouth, which is kind of a classic one too.
Yes.
I used to love like drawing like that kind of thing, and we also get like I feel like the closest thing to Western ghosts that we get in that kind of media is kind of The Grudge.
Yes.
Where it's like and that actually really used to freak me out. I feel like that's kind of also very textbook definition of ghost, universally understood, because she's pale white,
she's out of touch with the surroundings about her,
and she's kind of exclusively locked to this one area, and like she can spread, I guess, through people. But I think the definition for ghost in that movie, at least in the Sarah Michelle Gellar one, because I tried very hard to push that original one out of my head, it's like when somebody dies in an extreme emotional fit of emotion, that's kind of like how that locks on. And we see that Kayako and her husband, he died in an extreme fit of rage, that's why he's still there, and she died in an extreme fit of despair and like sadness, so that's why she's tied there. But also we get into something that is also very classically Japanese, the idea of Toshio and the cat, their spirits becoming interlocked. The idea that their spirits
cat, boom, interlock
is also very classic Japanese, you know. And I think that's like it's something that I don't think a lot of people were used to on this side of the world, at least. I feel like that's why those images still really hard in people's minds. The idea of this pale little boy who actually is just bone white and opens his mouth, and then the cat noise comes out.
Yes.
You know, it's not a human scream. I always thought that was like, I was always fascinated. Like, The Grudge was another one of those movies that terrified the fuck out of me, like legitimately terrified me, but also I like couldn't get enough of the story. And to be fair, that series actually goes into a lot of depth with its backstory and its mythos. I think in the second movie we see that Kayako's mother was a medium of sorts, where she would kind of take bad spirits from people but then feed them to her daughter. Yeah. So her daughter was the conduit, and that's why she kind of, you know, where everything goes the way it goes. I think
she is the depiction of a Japanese yuri. Or yurai, which is depicted in a white kimono.
Inflection. Come on, changing the shape of your tongue.
She's depicted as in a white kimono. As burial gown used in the Edo period for funeral rituals. Long black hair is let down as a tradition demands before the burial ceremony. She's known essentially, often resembles her former self, her living self, but in death is pale skinned, arms dangling uselessly by her sides.
Yeah, and she is like a proper apparition. She's not just what she looked like when she died. Again, like you said, like she it's the white kimono and like the bare feet and all that stuff. And Toshio is just in kind of essentially like a Christ diaper, where it's just like the bare minimum fabric or whatever.
Yes.
We actually don't get the father as like an actual ghost in that movie the same way, because that's another one that plays around with time. That movie is all non-linear, but then we get Sarah Michelle it's not Sarah Michelle Gellar, it's Amber something in the second movie when she goes to the house, and it's kind of the same thing where she sees everything as it was happening then, but then she is killed in the past,
same way,
and then kind of takes the place of Kayako. I always thought that was really, really interesting, and also just like it's kind of purgatory again for those women that are killed in that house. It's like, well, now you're just stuck there, like you can't do anything, and now you're just kind of unleashed as like this weird like plague across the earth, you know, which actually makes me think of the Mummy, who's also kind of borderline zombie, borderline apparition, borderline like witch doctor. We'll get to the Mummy one day. The mummy is another weird one. Or mummies, I always found in general harder to categorize or harder to like define, because it's like, you're not a zombie. And I think zombies are nearly always the result of necromancy. Somebody is actively bringing them back. They're not doing it themselves.
Yes. Yeah. This is the one that I was always loved. Is I had seen it, these two little twin ghosts, because you were mentioning like the interlocking of like spirits and things like that. These two little twin ghosts that appeared in Pompoko, in the Japanese film by Hayao Miyazaki for Studio Ghibli. But basically, these two little ghosts appear as either two girls or one boy and one girl, and they're little twins, and they could be about maybe 5 at most, but they're dressed in traditional garb from, again, the Edo period, and they're essentially they're ghosts that, like, they're called, what are they called, sorry, the Zashigi Warashi. And these two always remember, essentially they're just very mischievous, and it's exactly the way it's depicted in the in Pompoko, where they would show up these like construction building site where these men are just sleeping over because they don't have a place to go back to at the moment, and they just say, they show up at the door and they're like, we're lost, can you help us, all this type of thing. And then when they're let in, they start to cry, and then they literally just ransack the room,
just
and
a
then
general
they
annoyance, like
blow up and they disappear. It's just, they're mischievous ghosts, but they're I think it's like one of those kind of trial things where, like, if you let them in, they'll help you and blah blah blah. But I always find it just so interesting that there's these strange, like, ghosts are not just like haunting and trying to scare you or things like that. They're testing you, or they're being mischievous with it, like the kitsune or things like that. You know, it's always very, very interesting to hear like these otherworldly beings that are spirits as well, you know. And
I think it's particularly important to kind of clarify or to kind of define and kind of differentiate like regular ghosts from the ghosts of children. For some reason, children ghosts, they're always kind of like, we got like The Shining, or like you said there, there's always a certain kind of, they're not necessarily evil as much as mischievous.
Sorry, I should just say, sorry to interrupt, but they do fall under the category of yokai, which are not just ghosts, but they are also Japanese demons as well. Just in case, just to clarify that there is a differentiation there. But
I think there's like a list of like a set number of these fall under yokai.
Including your
my mermaid.
My
mermaid that's just like a fish's body, but with like a woman's head, like just plonked onto the top.
Yeah.
Like I love that. But yeah, like children or child ghosts always tend to be a little bit more mischievous and less malicious, you know, because it's like that's kind of the nature of children.
They also tend to be very lost and confused, because I mean, like, if they are children and they most likely wouldn't know that they're dead.
Yeah,
they probably
very Nicholas from the others.
How would they react to that if they didn't know they were dead? Like, would they?
Like, how could a child
mind comprehend that? Yeah,
but then also I feel like it's almost simpler for a child in a way where it's just like okay, sure, I guess. You know, there's not too much of a, like, for example,
are you going to be like Demi Lovato and sing them?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Demi Lovato? No, that was so embarrassing. She's been through trauma. I've been through trauma too.
Are retarded.
Oh, it was so embarrassing. But
How dare you?
no, the first one we kind of fully accept and just it's normal to them is Anne in the others.
Yes.
Like, to her it's just like, yeah, there's ghosts. Like, she's not the one needing to be convinced at all. Mm-hmm. You know, it's Nicole Kidman is the one that is actually... And to Nicholas, ghosts just are real. There is no doubt at all. Like, there's no convincing. But Nicole Kidman is the one that needs the, no. Like we were saying at the start, it's like, no, I'm not going to allow myself to even think or believe about that. Like, that would be ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But God, though.
But God, though. That dick do be swinging.
And then, like, I think it's always more tragic when you see children ghosts, because, again, ghost implies that you're dead, and it's like, there's like this inherent nature, whether you like children or not, to protect the young and to kind of, it's like life is, like, death is so much sadder when it happens to a child, because they, like, didn't get to live, you know?
Yeah.
Which is weird, because, like, I don't think children would regret dying the same way an adult would.
No, I think there would be, like you said, there's a very quick acceptance of terms. Yeah, you know,
like, children don't think about life so broadly in the same way. Like, I don't think kids think about the future.
No, they just. I think kids very much live day to day.
Yeah, everything comes from the past. Everything from what they've learned.
Yeah,
which is also very ghost. I think ghosts are just great metaphors for the past.
Exactly,
like shit that's happened already. You know,
one type of spirits or ghosts I wanted to talk about was the term shade from classical mythology, which is the Greek interpretation of ghosts. They weren't known as ghosts. That word didn't exist with them. It was, the Latin umbra, I should call it, is in reference to the notion of spirits in the Greek underworld, and how the Greek underworld was structured was, it was very much like Valhalla. So if you had a normal life, you did okay, you went to Hades, which is not necessarily hell. It was just, you just go there and you'll exist there.
It's just the afterlife. TM.
Yeah, and then you have, if you did a particularly well-righteous life, you went to the plains of, oh God, I can't remember it.
Yeah, it's Elysium.
Elysium, yeah. The Elysian fields, which would be these huge, gorgeous, never-ending sunny
kind of
days.
Turning out to heaven.
Yeah. And then you have just the Styx, which is, you know, and the Phlegathon.
Water.
You have the Stygian, you have the Phlegathon, and you have there's that other one. I can't remember the Eridanus, which are all the three mythical rivers that lead from one plane of existence to the other in the Greek underworld. And so Karen, the one thing I always loved was the ferryman.
Yeah, leave the coins on the ice for the ferryman, or toss
leave the coins on the dresser.
Hit the dough. Yeah.
The one thing I loved about it was that, and that continued, by the way, that thought process of leaving 2 coins over the eyes of the deceased carried all the way into the Middle Ages and the late 1800s in Victorian England. So it still happened.
I believe it's also still kind of prevalent. Don't fucking shoot me, but I think with like Romani kind of traditions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, like certain culture, I feel like all cultures have can like universally agree on like death rites.
Yes.
For some reason, it feels evil or like wrong to go against tradition in that way, you know, because it's like okay, well, if they actually are going to go to heaven this time, like I want to like have it be right, you know.
Yeah.
That's why like you find people who aren't religious get buried in churches or get buried in sacred land, like on church grounds and stuff like that, you know. It's like you could just be buried at your back, you know, but I think people want the like, okay, you actually have to do it right. I'm going to make sure because happens to you.
I really do. I just love that idea of having the gold coins over my eyes when I go, is like, so I have the coin to pay the ferryman, because that man is working day and night. He ain't taking no fucking rest. You know, about 5 million people die every fucking day.
I like that depiction of him
times.
in Clash of the Titans.
It's just this emaciated figure.
There's just tall dude
part
on
of
the
the
front
boat.
of the like the gondola kind of driver.
Yeah.
But I love the idea that it's just that was a great shot in 3D, by the way. That remake of Clash of the Titans was like semi decent. I thought the Medusa design was pretty cool, but they made her like, I think it's like played by like Giselle Bundchen or something like that. Like it's a model. Like she's not supposed to be pretty in this form anyway. But the idea of just like flicking the coin, you know.
Yeah.
Again, it's tradition. It's not so much like it makes it a little bit less scary. It's not so damnation. It's just like look, don't be a fucking dick, and like probably your life will be fine at the end.
Yeah.
And like things won't be so scary. As they were going to say, I just have a little small poem that I have about death that makes it seem not so scary. It's not. It's not long, but
do tell.
It'll take a minute. So
well, the before I'll give you was the word wraith to describe a Scotsman's word for a ghost, which would be a spectre or an apparition.
We see that word actually very closely associated with banshees, stuff like that, where it's like you're. I think the word banshee and wraith are almost interchangeable in Irish kind of Celtic folklore.
It appeared in Scottish like Romanticist literature, and acquired the more general or figurative sense of portent as a portent or an omen. So again, very banshee. 18th to the 19th century in Scottish literature, it also applied to aquatic spirits, which is very interesting. The word has no commonly accepted etymology other than notes of obscure origin, quote unquote, only. And the one thing I always found extremely interesting about that was, it always reminded me of what Tolkien was describing when he was talking about the ring wraiths. So he said there was 3 words that always came into his mind when he was talking about the wraiths, because there was and
they scream and stuff like that, don't they? Yes, that's
so like he said there were 3 words. There was wraith, which was just an empty, obscure thing with no shape or form of its own. Yeah. There was writhe.
I was an abstract.
Exactly, which just means to, in torture, in pain constantly. And then you have wreath, which is, it's a holiday item, but it's a twisted thing. It has no
holiday
shape.
Item.
It has a destructed, twisted form to it. It's no longer physical in shape, but it's also related to wrath, which means just pure anger. So a wraith in a in Scotland is always just like the banshee. It's an omen of misfortune. It's if you are seeing one of these things, it means that it is destruction. It is just pure evil intent to the person who sees it, basically.
Yeah, like there's malice to it. It's not,
exactly. Because like the banshee is very, in Irish culture, she's very neutral. She's the neutral chaos.
Yeah, she's not evil. She's
not evil. She's just the omen of it.
She's the fire alarm.
Whereas
the fire.
If you see a wraith, it's pointed to you. You are the one that's going to get it,
Fingers crossed. But yeah, here's the little poem. It's about death, but I always associate like this with the ferryman. It's by Clarence E. Flynn. Why do you fear me? I am your friend. I but guide travelers rounding the bend. Lead them to freedom from time and age. Help them start writing on a new page. Seek for me never. Keep your course true. When I am needed, I'll come to you. Then I will show you roads without end. Why do you fear me? I am your friend. And it's like, I think I think if more people were able to think about death like that, I think ghosts would be less prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's just death is the again, it's the requirement for ghosts. You have to die, you know. But I think just that fear and kind of inexplicability is what like really drives people insane. These are the kind of topics that really do drive people out of their head, because there is no like we're never going to get to see what's on that side and then report back. Really, I mean, like people have claimed to have died on the operating table and they saw a light and
NEDs,
or they saw nothing and all of that kind of stuff,
or NDEs,
but
near-death experiences. I do think like that's very much me. I constantly say like I don't particularly fear dying or anything like that, but I think that's me saying that now. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, if the concept of death being so near, as I'm so fucking old, it will probably terrify me.
I think about it like constantly. Like it
me
really,
dying of old age.
No, just death in general. Like it really freaks me out. And like that's only human, you know. I think like you find it a lot with older people and stuff like that.
Like me. Well, I tell you this much.
I won't be investing. I'm out.
Sometimes these sound bites are so out of context.
I'm not investing in death. I'm out.
But yeah, I think like again, that's why we have things like religion, or why we have things like myth, is to make these things easier to swallow.
Yes.
And make them because they offer some form of explanation or some form of hope, as to be like, okay, this is my idea of what's going to happen. You know, like this is why we have like Tiernan Oak or like the Fields of Elysium, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, if I just like am true of heart, and I think it's the same thing in ancient Egypt, where you have your heart weighed against the feather, and like to see if you're worthy or not, and then throw it to the crocodile-headed, lion-maned, hippo-bodied pet of Anubis. Yeah, you know, again, using trauma to control people in a certain way, where it's like, don't be a fucking dick and you won't go to hell, bro. You know? But I think that, again, like, people in the world just want people in the world to not be pieces of shit. So that's why, like, morality is generally the same around the world, you know?
The other ghost I really wanted to talk about was, and you mentioned it earlier, the term poltergeist.
I'm actually going to get up like the textbook definition.
I actually have it here. So the term poltergeist is a German word, literally meaning a, in quote unquote, noisy ghost, for a spirit said to manifest itself by invisibly moving and influencing objects. Usually of electrical appliance matters.
So yeah, I think
I fucking love this attention-seeking horror ghost. I love it.
No, just like a flair for the dramatic, and I think that's why people always forget that Freddy Krueger is technically a ghost, or Freddy Krueger is a poltergeist. You know, who can, I guess, like appear to you in your dreams or whatever, but then also manifest himself in the physical world, because he like has. Like, Freddy Krueger is there just to fuck with you. Like, that's the thing. That's why, like, all them... God, I wanted to fuck with me. Robert Englund, I have said on several occasions, Robert Englund could, like... But,
Is he? Is he what I think he is?
Yeah, sure. No, it's Burt Reynolds. The ghost of Burt Reynolds.
Really?
Yeah. I don't even have to say nothing, Burt, because you know I fucking love you. I was so upset when he died. But yeah, I think like Freddy Krueger is a hard one to define, because it's like he's not Jason, who's kind of a zombie, you know, but like he fucks with people. That's why like he doesn't just
he's a
kill
dream
somebody.
demon, man.
Exactly. Yes. But that didn't come around until like the 6th movie.
Okay, well, let's give the textbook definition of poltergeist on screen. Poltergeist.
Yeah, well, see, even those, I don't know how... I suppose in Poltergeist they are very just kind of like... Like there's there's not a lot of like threat. It's just like have fun unstacking all these chairs, bitch. You know, just like small little like things like that. And then I suppose like they do go into the like actually trying to take Carol Ann and stuff. But they like have the steak like kind of rot and become filled with maggots. They have the guy's face like peel off, you know. Do you know what? Like that freaked me out when I was a kid. Not because it looked realistic, because it didn't.
Yeah.
Because like in my mind, I was like, "What the fuck am I even looking at?" Just like this man's face, just like coming off in chunks. It's so funny looking. But yeah, I think and we also get kind of a weird definition in The Conjuring. There's like different stages of like things where it's like what is it? It's like apparition, like things like that, where they basically try and get you down to like a really low place emotionally by just kind of knocking things over or just doing things,
breaking you down.
Exactly, doing things just to freak you out and just to kind of fuck you up.
Yeah,
like with Freddy Krueger, all of those scenes are like super extended. You know, it's like I could just kill you and like immediately and not even have all the bells and whistles, but just
like doing it for the fuck of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, what the fuck else would you do?
Yeah, true.
Like,
you get bored of that very quickly.
I always
if you
wanted
just
to
didn't
see
do
is
that.
like, what is Freddy Krueger doing, like outside of a dream? Like, what's his like? What's the like day to day? Like, what plane is he on?
Is he sitting there filing his nails, waiting for some asshole to fall asleep?
I feel like he's like a TV fan. You know. You know, likes music and stuff.
He is well searching the internet for people who are connected to Woodsboro.
Freddy
Not
Krueger.
Woodsboro.
Wow!
Elm Street. Sorry.
Wow.
Elm Street. He's well, like he well goes to a fucking dream library somewhere in some such shit and looks up the internet saying like fucking family descendants of assholes from Elm Street.
I know, just like a small extra little bit, like Freddy is like a
extra tidbit.
Freddy in those movies is a Catholic evil, like,
yes,
confirmed Catholic evil, like born to a nun, a son of 1,000 maniacs,
son
like,
of 100 maniacs.
What
son of 100 maniacs? Shut up.
But yeah, the nun, Amanda Kruger, was like raped over the weekend. She was like left in the asylum or whatever, and then Freddy obviously is that, but the way they try and like defeat him is they try and have his bones and his remains buried in hallowed ground, you know, and a couple of the like finales for those movies end up being like in a cathedral. I always think like that's really good imagery, like Freddy standing on like the tabernacle, like just
you can't go wrong with that. Yeah,
but it's great, you know. So yeah, it's like also his mother as well is kind of not a poltergeist. She's a straight up ghost, where she's giving a warning, basically being like, this is how you defeat him, and da-da-da-da. Like, he has to have a proper burial, because they just buried his bones in the junkyard. That's what he was able to... He was in a state of unrest, so he was able to just kind of be around and do all this stuff. Yeah. You know? I actually saw a thing the other day that it was like, do we like first generation Elm Street kids or second generation Elm Street kids? And it's like, well... Only one of them is alive still. Yeah. Like, Alice is the only one that actually stayed alive. Even Nancy was killed, you know?
Yeah, didn't they get to a point where they were like, there was no kids left in America or some such shit?
No, in Freddy's Dead, between The Dream Child and Freddy's Dead, Nightmare was my series when I was growing up. Like, I was not a Freddy person. Between 5 and 6, people in Elm Street like stop having children, and like schools stop kind of being open, but everybody is like fucked up because all their children are dead. There just is no Elm Street children left. And it was kind of preventative as well, where it's like if we don't have kids, like we can't have Freddy and all that kind of stuff. I actually can't wait to like finish out the Nightmare series, because like the mythos is so good. It's like it is like it's very, very good. I think the next one we have to do is 3, and that's when we actually start to get into the Catholic side of Freddy. Freddy used to be a good little Catholic schoolboy, you know, whose stepdad is played by Alice Cooper in the 5th one. Or the 6th one.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Alice Cooper's like whipping the fuck out of him, but Freddy's just kind of like...
He's feeling that.
He's like into it. He's like, on. Yeah, that's great.
That. So, the other thing I want to talk about was 1 or 2 festivals that are specifically held right now. I mentioned Day of the Dead earlier. But...
Ghost Stock 2022! Spring break! Boos are just applause from ghosts. What a great line.
Oh, Oh my god. So you have the Hungry Ghost Festival, which is the traditional festival of Buddhists and Taoists that is dedicated to paying tribute to deceased family members and their ancestors.
Would we throw bread at them?
So it's celebrated on the 7th Chinese lunar month. So it's also called, I know I could butcher this, Zhang Yuan Ji, and enter as ceremonies to avoid basically the wrath of ghosts.
We all good? We good?
We're good.
Before I put you in the ground, you're good?
And you also have Shra, which is the Indian festival for honouring the spirits of the dead during a 16-day period in the month of Pitru Paksha, according to the Hindu calendar. So. Rituals are performed to appease the ancestors and seek their blessings. So it's the same thing. However, this time a priest is invited at home for the holy ritual and is offered food, gifts, sweets, dakshina, which is a donation to the priesthood, to honor the ancestors. So I really do think like it's very interesting that it's sort of similar. Like you have Chinese, you have the Indians, you have Day of the Dead, you have All Souls Day here. You have all of these things which are essentially the same thing. It is appeasing the ghosts, ancestors, all of this type of thing, because we have this sort of unified belief.
But it is, death is the one thing that we all guaranteed are going to have in common.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not how,
Drake lyric.
it's
It's
when.
like everybody dies, but not everybody lives. You know, like everybody, like everywhere has to die or has to
meet
deal
fate
with
in some way.
Exactly, or has to deal with the repercussions of death. You know, so that's why like everybody has those kind of traditions. But that's why ghosts are so prevalent in all cultures, is because it's the one thing we all guaranteed have in common.
Yes,
you know. You know,
it's what unifies
besides like
us,
food
really.
and air and all that kind of stuff, it's like an experience that we're all like for
guaranteed.
sure to have.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's one thing that we can all relate to each other with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ghosts are cool.
Yeah. Well, I have another little tidbit that really kind of extra tidbits. So, the now prevailing sense of the soul of a deceased person, like appearing in visible form. So like you know, an
tangible
apparition
in front of you. Yeah.
Yes. Only emerges. Yeah, it's not some like wishy-washy sprite nonsense, anything like that. It only emerges out of the 14th century. So this is recorded beliefs of spooky stories, this, that, and the other. So like it came into popular culture that way. So the modern noun does, however, retain a wider field of application, which would be soul, spirits.
It's like we start to move away from gods and monsters and all that stuff and get into...
It becomes more grounded and more real, because you start to think like, oh, it's not some random monster that's creeping out of the darkness, it's Uncle Ed that died 3 weeks ago. Do you know what I mean?
And also just think about how common and everyday death was back then. It's like you can imagine all that stuff, you know. Like, what about a ghost movie from like the Black Plague or something like that? Like all the European ghosts.
Fancy.
Pissed off, yeah.
So like they would also have what they call the vital principle, which made the difference between like the ghouls and goblins of all of that, meaning that there was a thought behind what was happening. So like a vengeance of someone's ghost, things like that, where they called it the vital principle, the psyche, the seat of feeling, and the thoughts of moral judgment. So the fear of the possibility of ghosts coming back for, i.e. multiple reasons, like revenge, moral judgment on someone who's about to die, all that type of thing.
Milk.
It's like, and like anything would have been this sort of feeling. So like a figurative, a shadow's outline, a fuzzy image, you know, optics in photography, cinematography, especially like a flare in the camera, or like, you know, those little orbs that people are always talking about.
Yeah.
All of these things became the mainstream sort of from the 14th century onwards. So like people became, and that's why like things like seances and all of that were so popular, because the fear, like you said, like the fear of someone being like never getting to say goodbye, or feeling like this person hasn't moved on for a reason,
which again only affects the living.
That.
Like death doesn't affect the dead. Do you know what I mean? Like that sounds one of those like weird kind of, well, like water is wet, but it's like, no, death really only
what is wet?
But actually no, water is see, this is going to sound weird. Water is the wetness, but it is not wet, because in order for something to have been wet, it has to have been dry. Bitch.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind.
But like,
so it's lubricated.
It's just kind of on like hammers and stuff like that. A lot of cultures,
Camera obscura.
A lot of cultures believe that I think the Aborigines, natives in Australia, they believe that like the I don't want to say they as if like this is like
it's a whole
overall,
thing.
but in tradition, like they don't get photographs taken because they believe that like that right there on that page is like, is just so like it's been taken. I think Native Americans also and First Nations kind of have that belief too, and you can see why that would be a thing, you know, because like, which is weird to kind of think of like new myth being added to things.
Yes,
cameras are relatively new in terms of human history, so just having that new thing added to canon is like, I think really, really interesting. But I think turn of the century we start to see a lot of a big uptake in people's curiosity about death and what happens after death, or finally being able to like actually take a photograph and have proof of something. It's not just a story of, oh, I saw X in my room. You're actually able to like have documented like footage of it, or documented pictures of it, you know.
Well, it's very interesting, like what is the science behind ghosts, all that type of spiel. So I have a little tidbit on that.
Smooth.
So you saw what I did there, didn't you? So nobody knows for real if ghosts really do exist.
It was a choppy transition right there.
Science has refuted almost all claims time and time again. Time and time again, this has been, no, this is not, this is bullshit. What was the reason?
But you know, science also taught the earth was flat.
Yeah, true. Much like Scooby-Doo, there are other reasons for these unusual sightings. Like, the belief in ghosts is mostly a part of like human supernatural beliefs and fascination, and sometimes obsessions with the paranormal and the supernatural and all that jazz. So like every religion and culture has some mention of spirits that were perhaps the entire mystery stems from. But up until now, no one has ever really proven anything, except for people that have the near-death experiences, and that's experience, it's not science. So you have another explanation that science offers to existence of ghosts, which is hallucinations. You have the animating ability of the mind to see things that otherwise don't exist. So for example, scotoma, which is the mind chooses to see what it wants to see. So for example,
it's where your jacket looks like a person sitting on a desk.
Yeah,
like at night when it's dark.
I was going to say, like, you know, the whole light at the end of the tunnel thing. That's more so because your brain is not not your brain, the muscle, the arteries are not getting enough oxygen.
Yeah.
So your eyes are slowly dilating closed because they just don't have the muscle mass or the muscle energy to hold the iris open.
Yeah.
So when people are losing oxygen to the brain, the first thing they generally see is just a very faint light at the end of a dark tunnel. So that's where that sort of explanation does come from. But again, it doesn't account for people having near-death experiences and saying like, oh, I saw this person who they'd never met before,
or people who
happens
actually
to be
died
their
on
parents,
the operating table.
Yeah.
And people who were dead and have come back from the other side.
Yeah.
You're a zombie.
You are quite literally a zombie, yeah.
Yeah, you're a reanimated corpse.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like that's kind of a cool flex.
Mm-hmm.
But
imagine saying that on a CV, reanimated
go
corpse.
on though, yeah. but also, yeah, just kind of getting into the science of, I don't know why I put science in quotes. Ghosts
Oh, everything.
Yeah. This so-called science.
How dare they?
But like that's the thing. I believe you can very, very definitely and tangibly be haunted by somebody.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily think that it's your dead ma is gonna hang around in your attic or whatever the fuck it is, but you're going to be haunted by. In a good or bad way, you're going to be haunted by memories of them, by sadness, grief, all this kind of stuff. That to me is
which are all chemical reactions in the brain,
exactly
based off of emotional turmoil.
But you're doing that based off of your recollection of seeing a dead person in your mind, and that to me is be able to be printed in a science book, textbook definition. We can like have an experiment and see that it's true.
It's
ghost.
tangible. It's there. You can feel it.
Exactly.
It's right there.
It's just a little bit
less
less esoteric and a little bit less movie-like.
more grounded.
Yeah, but also like very true. You know.
It's the same as why I don't really like going to wakes. Because I remember it vividly and I've never ever forgotten it. Was when I went to my
Another
granddad's.
corpse stealing your spotlight. Yeah.
Quite literally.
I didn't know somebody else was going to be wearing a coffin.
So my granddad, now this all happened within the space of 2 days, mind you. My granddad was on essentially just a life support system, and we were going in, we had to say our goodbyes and all of that kind of thing, and then only my dad and my two aunties were left in the room and all of that, and I'd literally just seen him the day before. Yeah. And literally just seen my granddad the day before, and then walked into that house and seen him in that coffin, full pale white everything. And I'm not this isn't a ghost story or anything like that, but I was in the room and I saw the rips. They were ripped. But I was in the room and I did reach my hand over the side of the coffin and just touch his hand. Yeah. And this was me at like 11 or 12. It was marble cold. It was stone cold. And it freaked me out to the absolute umpteenth degree, and I said to myself, I will never go to one of these ever again. Really? Never. You haven't? I haven't since. I have never gone to a wake since. I like a wake. Because it's a good time, isn't it? Irish wakes are good crack. They're fucking good crack. But you see, that was the one thing that's like, that's what you were talking about, is that chemical reaction in the brain that causes me to never ever forget that. It's a memory that haunts you, literally. Yes, yeah. You know? It's fucking terrifying. It's scary. Yeah. And like right at that age as well, where you're kind of like technically still a child, you know, like where your mind is still like a third of the way open, like you haven't really like gotten there yet. Similar experience with my and I've been to a couple of wakes now, like with family and stuff like that. So I see, like, you're an old hand at this. This ain't my first time at the wake at the funeral home over there in Maynooth. No, but like again, I think you can. Well, I actually don't know, because like again, that like really freaked you out. But I've always had like a weird morbid fascination like with death itself. You know, like I said, it terrifies me, but I always say that's my way to unfreak myself out about stuff. Like the movies that scare me the most are the ones that I watch the most. Yeah, because so you can understand it more. Exactly, I want to like kind of unravel it a little bit. Absolutely. And then I think it can unfreak me. I think it freaks me out a little bit less if I can be like, okay, so that's just like that's not them anymore. Like that person is dead. Like it's whatever. Like that's just the. It's the shell. I was literally just about to say the ghost in the shell. You know, which is also kind of a great concept, which is a weird mix of sci-fi and myth, religion, kind of. And a lot of philosophy in that film. And that opening, though, the love is but beautiful. For my great grandmother, I like kissed her on her forehead or whatever like that, and being like, oh God, she's like cold. Like it's not even a like it sounds kind of disrespectful, but it's like that's not even a person anymore. Yeah, you know. And I mean, while still respecting it, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. That is not. But the same reason why we have like grave markers. The lights, it's just like you're what's left of the person that we love. So we're coming here to kind of like show respect and to kind of give you your flowers. You know, give you your like last goodbyes, or whatever. Yes. But wow, I kind of like went off on a weird little like tangent there in my mind. But
Yeah, like
Extra tidbits.
those are those, like, I think, like, you would kind of consider that as, like, a core memory of yours. Like, it informed...
To this day, it's
Yeah.
like a ghost. It haunts me. I have never forgotten the image of me taking this thumb and this finger and just grasping his hand, because his hands were like
Trying
this.
to take
So
his
I just...
ring off or whatever.
What the fuck did that?
They do that Return of the Living Dead, they just chop the finger off and take the ring.
And like, yeah, to this day, I have never forgotten that moment. I have never, ever think I ever will.
I think I need a wake for, like, actual real closure to be like, well,
Yeah.
there it is.
There you are. You keep expecting me to jump up and have a fucking reveal. I got a tearaway underneath my tearaway.
I think like stuff like that is important, and like I know for like when I die, like I want to be buried, even though
I want a Viking funeral.
it's not very eco-friendly to be buried, just because you got to put a big wooden box in the thing. Get me like an oak box, something that's gonna rot away,
But
or
you
just
know,
throw me in the ground.
In Africa, they actually cover the coffin in cement.
Yeah, but you're not getting the fuck back out of there.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
they do that in,
no,
like,
it's not
Bulgaria and
that.
stuff
It's
like
just
as well.
people rob the coffins.
Yeah.
People rob what's inside. They go grave robbing. Freshly
Yeah.
dug grave, that's a great opportunity. And it does happen.
Jeweler. I was literally going to say, like, literally
Yeah.
Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Well, Return of the Living Dead Part 2, which we will fucking cover one day. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, those two guys, I forget the name, I think it's like Tom and whatever, they're grave robbers. That's how, like, everything comes around, is they're going and taking jewelry off of corpses and stuff like that. Which, like, I think, again, is universally, like, if you're a grave robber, gross.
Yeah.
Like, you're desecrating
Frankenstein is a grave robber.
Yeah, for real, you know, it's like, I think that's why...
That's why the townspeople come after him.
Yeah, because he's robbing graves. Great drag name. But, yeah, again, it's just... Sorry, I'm going to speak a little bit louder, a little bit more pronounced, because I'm over here now. But,
Enunciate.
Yeah, just the idea
Wingardium
of, like-
Leviosa.
oh, what a little bitch. Don't fucking talk to me like that. Seriously. Anyway, that's why your hair is dry as fuck, Hermione. No. one stiff piece of hair. But yeah, I know the idea of, like, desecration of graves and stuff like that. It's like, oh my god.
Yes.
Like, it's like, what are you doing? You know, I think that's why we're, like, bordering getting into zombies now.
Yeah.
But I think that's why the, like, idea of necromancy, reanimated corpse, is just like, you're breaking
The natural law, yeah.
You know, it's
Exactly.
Jurassic Park up in this bitch. Like,
I love it.
yeah, I think, like, natural law, there's only, like, one or two of them.
Yeah.
You live and then you die.
Well, I before we sort of finish, I do have...
Oh, no, and dem bones need calcium.
Oh my god, shut up.
And that's natural law.
And that's the natural law.
Do you remember that ad?
Yes.
With the little kids and they break up. I don't know, it was... What was that even an ad for? Just calcium in general, or milk?
No. It was either milk or yogurt. I think it's yogurt that it was.
But I think it was just like the idea of milk.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it wasn't like a specific brand. It was just please drink milk. Like, the shit they used to put 20 years ago, they don't even do that anymore. You could never just advertise, just drink more milk, eat more meat.
So I do have some fun facts before we.
I'll decide whether they're fun or not. You don't tell me something's a party, I'll show up and see if I enjoy myself.
Some of the most haunted places in the world.
My pussy.
Now, pussy, listen. Oh my god.
Okay.
The pussy, listen. Here are some fun facts for you. So, some of the most haunted places in the world consists of even the most mundane places, but some of the most famous haunted places in the world are New Orleans. Of course, it's one of the most famously haunted places in America, next to the White House, which is meant to be famously haunted by Abraham
this is
Lincoln.
separate look. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is just loads of different, like, little extra tidbits.
New Orleans is also huge on death rituals with voodoo and stuff like that.
So there's the White House is one of the most famous of America.
Why gotta be white?
So Abraham Lincoln is meant to be the man, and this is meant to be like the most obvious one, which is because he's been seen apparently with the long tall hat, so it gives it away that it's him. His ghost is said to have haunted the White House. There is a story that the Queen of Holland, while she was visiting there and staying that night, he came into her bedroom, he sat down next to her, and he cried.
Abe?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't be able...
And then you have Windsor Castle, which is Elizabeth's castle. It's supposed to be the most haunted castle in the world.
Good, fuck her.
So there's 2 people that are meant to haunt that one, which is Queen Victoria, and then you have also Mary Queen of Scots, because that's where she was executed, which is
I don't understand what you're
crazy.
saying because she spoke French. They always show her, even in that last movie that came out, Mary Queen of Scots, they just show her as like the most stereotypically Scottish bitch ever, and it's like she would have just spoke French. She wouldn't have sounded like that. Oh, God. So, where do you think she got that accent from? She's been locked in a tower talking to French people her whole fucking life. Yeah. Mary Queen of Scots wasn't out here fucking watching Batman and fucking Robin and drinking Iron Brew.
I didn't fucking come out and watch Batman and fucking Robin. The other place would be Stonehenge, which is we actually spoke about it in the last episode, where it's constantly filled with mist, specifically just because sacrifices took place there. Mystics, mages, witches, everything, druids, all of that happened there, so it's meant to be famously haunted, especially at dawn.
The Tower of London.
You have there's just so many places.
Do you have the Tower of London on here?
Wait, what?
Do you have the Tower of London on here?
No. Oh, it's a my hero.
I'm my hero.
That's another thing. You have a lot of ghosts hunters, which are the one thing I always found funny about ghosts. What?
Because you said witch.
Oh. Shut up.
You could be both.
Or you could be neither.
Now, that guy from Poltergeist was the ghost of a skeleton who became a zombie. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was the kind of decay.
Right.
Mr. Necrotic. Dude was dead looking as fuck.
Anyway. So, you have ghost hunters, which I love.
I'm gonna make a fucking scene at your dinner later. Keep acting up.
We're going to celebrate my birthday later on, so... Yeah, but ghost hunters are always so funny to me. I love the fact that these cunts literally walk into the most haunted fucking places imaginable, and they're like, we're gonna find out if there's fucking ghosts here. And when something happens, they literally shit themselves and run away. It is so fucking funny. I love it.
Or just be such a good show.
Or you could be like Demi Lovato and sing to some ghosts with trauma.
Demi, you could just stop talking. You don't have to say everything you feel. What's like the equivalent to like... What's the like non-binary equivalent to like girly or dude? Like if I were to call you dude. Like you end the sentence off with some gender
Quaalude.
Okay, that's actually kind of cool.
What's up, Quaalude?
We have spoken for the NBs. It's Quaalude now.
Oh my god.
You were in the middle of saying something.
No, I wasn't. I finished.
Okay,
we cut there and then we re-cut back in. Next to Vuka.
God, no, my head is completely empty. So next week we are moving on from ghosts, and I don't think we're going to go with a theme next week or next month. I think we're just going to...
Yeah, we kind of don't have anything. It's more so... Because there's some good movies coming out this month, so...
Yeah, for real.
Very excited.
Are we going to cover The Northman? Or do you think we should...
I want to do that. I'll do it.
Do you think we should see it first and then decide?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Because it's it could be The Witch, or it could be...
Just be an action flick. Yeah.
So next week we have Ty West's new movie, X.
Woo!
So fucking excited.
I'm ready for this.
I've actually heard exclusively good shit about it.
I saw the first trailer and I have not looked at anything since.
I don't think there was any like other really.
There was some clips that have been released,
yeah,
but I
there's not much
still
clips,
no, because it's just bullshit. You wouldn't rather.
But yeah, A24 finally delving into just a straight slasher.
Imagine A24 doing a slasher movie.
I'm excited, but we also have Jenna Ortega, a new Scream Queen.
Yes,
and
the return of Mia Goth.
Who's also confirmed to be in Scream 6.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's going to be cool as fuck.
Interesting.
Who I also, looking back on her a couple of days ago, I think would have made a better Wendy in Doctor Sleep. I think she looks more like Shelley Duvall than Alice.
You know what?
Alex
I
Esso.
can see that. I can see that.
Boogier eyes,
Yeah.
teeth and stuff. I think she would have made
more
a lot
so
more
the
sense.
the eyes would sell me more.
I think she would have made a lot more sense. I think
Yeah.
Alex Esso just didn't look like Shelley Duvall
No.
at all.
Hi, I'm Shelley Duvall.
I sure am. But I'm so excited. I can't wait.
So excited to be here. Oh my god. So, that was the SLAB, where we prodded, and postulated a topic of our decision making this time.
Wow.
Of our choice this time. Well, it was sort of like a no-brainer, because like we kind of did a whole month dedicated to ghosts, so we're like, well, we might as well just talk about ghosts, really. So, next week is X. Super excited. We're actually going to go see that today, because this video comes out tomorrow, and we're going to see it tomorrow. So when you hear this, we will have just seen it.
Dirt broke after tonight.
We're getting fucked up. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. I'm super excited to see A24 do a slasher movie. This is going to be lit. I know it is. And I'm ready to. I'm ready to. Shut up and take my money.
Yeah,
you know. So make sure to like, subscribe, all that jazz. Follow us on YouTube. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. And are you done?
Just in case you didn't hear.
And follow us on Instagram for some daily updated content. And, of course, the selection process at the end of each month. Look at her. Look at that. And so, yeah. Let us know what you think below. And have a good enjoying my birthday, people. Celebrate my life, because I probably don't have much of it left.
Bye. Have a very beautiful day.